Welcome to Lit with Ernest, where we dive into the world of literature and explore the ideas that shape us. Today, we're going to talk about Immanuel Kant's Tractate on Education, a work that may not be as widely known as some of his other writings, but is nonetheless significant in the literary canon. Tractate on Education was written in 1803, a time when the concept of education was undergoing a significant shift. The Enlightenment had emphasized reason and individualism, and Kant's work reflects this emphasis. He argues that education should be focused on developing the individual's moral character, rather than simply imparting knowledge. This idea may seem straightforward to us today, but it was revolutionary at the time. The late 18th and early 19th centuries were a time of great social and cultural change. The French Revolution had shaken the foundations of European society, and the Industrial Revolution was transforming the way people lived and worked. In this context, Kant's ideas about education as a means of personal transformation were particularly relevant. Kant's work relates to several major literary traditions, including the Enlightenment and Romanticism. He was influenced by thinkers like Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who argued that humans are born with innate abilities and that education should focus on nurturing these abilities. Kant takes this idea further, arguing that education should be focused on developing the individual's moral character rather than simply imparting knowledge. One of the key concepts in Tractate on Education is the idea of Bildung, or personal formation. Kant argues that education should be a process of self-formation, where the individual develops their own moral character and becomes a responsible member of society. This idea is reflected in his emphasis on the importance of critical thinking, self-reflection, and moral development. For example, Kant writes, "The greatest sign of maturity is the ability to use one's understanding in accordance with one's own judgment." This quote highlights the importance of individual autonomy and critical thinking in Kant's philosophy. He believes that individuals should be encouraged to think for themselves rather than simply accepting authority or tradition. Tractate on Education has had a lasting impact on literature and culture. Its ideas about education as a means of personal transformation have influenced thinkers like Friedrich Froebel, who developed the concept of kindergarten as a space for child-centered learning. In contemporary times, Tractate on Education remains relevant in discussions around educational reform, social justice, and personal development. For instance, the concept of unschooling, which emphasizes self-directed learning and autonomy, owes a debt to Kant's ideas about individual freedom and agency. Additionally, authors like Jane Austen and Charlotte Bronte wrote novels that critique the social conventions and educational systems of their time, reflecting Kant's emphasis on individual autonomy and moral development. In terms of literary devices, Tractate on Education is notable for its use of rhetorical questions, metaphors, and analogies. Kant uses these devices to make his ideas more accessible and engaging, and to encourage readers to think critically about the nature of education. For example, he compares the process of education to a journey, where the individual must navigate their own path and make their own decisions. In an age where education is often reduced to standardized testing and rote memorization, Kant's treatise reminds us that learning should be a transformative experience that awakens our minds and hearts. As the old masters would say, education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. Tractate on Education is a testament to the power of education to shape us into capable, compassionate, and courageous human beings. Like this episode if it hit true. Share it if you respect honest talk about books. Subscribe because we'll do this again. This is Ernest, signing off.